Hello, everybody. This is your buddy Stars here, coming to you on a Monday afternoon, resurrecting the Vintage Geek Playalong after an extremely long hiatus here. We have had some issues coming up as we move into our new location here on Hall of Fame Drive in Knoxville, Tennessee. And we are very, very excited about the new space. We are taking the opportunity that we have here to kind of redo our inventory and make that something that's accessible to pretty much everybody. Particularly members who will have access to our database as we start moving toward digitizing a lot of the software that we have. Hopefully that'll become a good resource for people. But yeah, in the meantime, have been working on setting up my station here and getting back to where I can actually sit and record new streams or play-alongs. And honestly, it's going really well so far. Part of the problem that we had is that the internet here was not great, or rather the Wi-Fi specifically. We have now switched to fully wired network, and it is working very, very well now. So we're going to get along here and play something here before I have to go to our employee Christmas dinner. We're going to play a little bit of Mega Man, but it's not just Mega Man. It's also X. This is Mega Man X, 1993, if I remember correctly, from Capcom. Kind of rebooted the famous series from the NES days. One of my favorites of all time. The X games, the Mega Man X games, not the Tony Hawk X games, or whoever's in charge of them now. Much more divisive, I think, than the original series. You know, the original Mega Man games were very memorable because they were very good games. They had a very consistent art style, and the layout was very simple stories and stuff like that. And I think because of that prominence, and in particular because the game had so many additions in the series, 6 for the NES alone, although I think Mega Man 6 may have actually come out after this game. But in any case, it definitely, is one of the games that get brought up by the, oh, dude, remember Ninja Turtles? Like, kind of folks, as well as, which, don't get me wrong, I love those folks. I totally understand the appeal of nostalgia. I have spent the last week trying to find a way to download a bunch of commercials from the 90s so I can build my own television blocks to share with people. And if you're interested in that, feel free to let us know in the comments, and I will gladly get that to you. But in any case, it tends to be popular with really nostalgia-focused people, whereas the X games ran for many years. This one came out, like I said, I think in '93, and I want to say the last one came out in like 2008 or something like that, versus the classic series, which, I mean, technically is still going, but at the time it seemed like it was going to be, Mega Man 1 through 6 or 1 through 7, if you count 7. I don't, because it's the worst game in the series, but, eventually continued through with, like, Mega Man 8 on the PS1, which is pretty good, and Mega Man 9 and 10, which were late enough that they were seen as like throwbacks. The X games, on the other hand, have a more serious story. They change the art style quite a bit. They take the story as seriously as you usually would see in like shonen anime, which this definitely was inspired by. Boba Fett says, "You worthless piece of scrap metal. Did you think you could defeat me?" Actually, what is his name? Vile? I think it's Vile. I guess we'll find out in a second. And somebody blows his arm off, and oh no, it's Zero. The original Mega Man X, whose story became so convoluted that I don't even fully understand exactly what it is. It's like he's the villain of the original games, Dr. Wily, implanted into a machine, like a robot, I think. What I do know is that when they were working on designing this game, he was originally going to be Mega Man. And then they realized that he didn't look enough like the original Mega Man, so the character that you actually play as, X, was designed and added to the game. Personally, and this is something that will make Mega Man X fans very mad, I personally prefer X to Zero, both in playing and just design-wise. We're going to hop into the bosses here, starting with Chill Penguin. This is obviously the bulk of the game. I always started with Chill Penguin because I hate not having the slide. And this is the level that you get the slide in, as we'll see here in just a second. It also makes going, like, I think the traditional first boss that most people prefer is Flame Mammoth. But his stage is also really difficult. There's a lot of opportunities to fall into lava and die. But, and this is one of the cool things that this game innovated for the series, if you play through one boss's level, it can affect other bosses' levels. And we'll see that with a few different levels as we go through. I'm going to dodge all these wheels. These things out of the way. Really good music. The Mega Man series, I think in general, is recognized as having some of the best music in any video games of all time. And personally, I would say that my favorite is probably Mega Man 3, which just had an incredible soundtrack that was done in one of the most emotionally effective formats, as the Megas did an album based on Mega Man, actually 2 albums based on Mega Man 3, and actually brings up some really cool, like, literary stuff toward the end of it with Proto Man's character and what it means for scientists like Dr. Light to have created life and then discarded it in favor of a better version, that being Mega Man. One of my favorite bands in the world, and not just because I love Mega Man, but also because I love Mega Man. So, one of the big differences in the X series as opposed to the original Mega Man games is that it's much faster paced, and that is, I think, demonstrated better than anything by this dash move that you get, which is just insanely helpful for, like, zipping around these stages and stuff. You can pull off some really amazing dodges. See, like right there, I don't think I could have done that in the original game, but I managed to zip myself right up against the wall. Wall climbing also being a new thing in this game. But yeah, it moves a lot faster. The original game, Mega Man, moves pretty slowly, and it's more about recognizing patterns and, avoiding like single screen mazes, or not mazes. I guess I'm thinking of those laser things in Flash Man's level in Mega Man 2. But yeah, stuff like that, like jumping all the way over him so I can attack him without hitting his penguins. There should be a version of this where you're fighting Danny DeVito's penguins instead of Chill Penguin. Yeah, as we go through the game, I'll kind of point out they're pretty much all the music in this game is excellent. But the boss stages in particular are just so good. There we go. Did it without even getting hit. Pro moves. How about that? Okay. Well, all right. There's one Maverick down. Now, I think I'm going to get equipped with shotgun eyes here. We'll get to see one of the most satisfying boss battles in the game here in a second with that shotgun eyes. But in the meantime, before we do that, we're going to go here into Flame Mammoth's level and see if we can't pick up another upgrade. As you see, everything in his level is now covered in snow and ice because we already beat Chill Penguin. And that means that I can just kind of skip under a lot of that, a lot of the actual traps and puzzles on the game. We'll have to come back here eventually anyway, so I guess it doesn't really make too much of a difference. But because we did drop the snow, we get to pick up a heart tank, which is another thing you can do in the original game. Expand your life bar. Now, granted, the life bar is much larger in the original games, but God, I always get beat to hell by these monsters. Their dumb little chuckle after they hit you with something. Like getting bullied by a football player or something. Pick up a couple of one-ups. Whoa. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. One of the best power-ups in any video game, period. The E-Tank, the energy tank. Once I get that baby filled up, I will be able to give myself essentially a full restore whenever I want to. Which is incredibly helpful in this game. As you get later into it, some of the bosses are really difficult. Particularly if you didn't grow up playing this game and owning a copy of it that you could beat over and over again, like I obviously did. Because I am not this good at video games naturally. This is just because I've put in the time. These suckers from the original games, with the ball, the shield, like I guess the ball and chain isn't in all of them, but in the original games, I think it's he's got a gun, which is maybe even worse. Anyway. So you can see not very long levels in this game, especially compared to some of the entries in the classic series. In the meantime, I'm just gonna stand here and wait for this big old heffalump to move so that I can move. Oh. He's not very difficult, but he ends up being one of the more difficult of the bosses. If you don't know his pattern. Which clearly I'm not doing well with. It's been a little bit since I played this. I don't think I've played this game in probably 2 or 3 years. So we're speaking relatively there in terms of, recency. But I'm sure there are people who are watching this right now who have not played this game since 1994 or something. But, keep hammering away on this elephant. Almost got him. One more of these. Yeah. I'm sure he'll make a grand piano. Good jingles. I hate that they have gotten away from just little jingles like that to celebrate certain things, beating a boss. I think in the original games, it's like da 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 da. It's good stuff. I think taken from like Super Sentai shows in Japan. That trait came from. I think. That is off the top of my head, so don't take that too seriously. But good stuff. It's always good to get that. Contra is another good example. Like the ending music, the da 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 da. Good stuff. Good stuff, especially if you were looking for some sort of notification noise on your phone. Mega Man was a little too long. Just sick guitar in this. If it hasn't become clear, it's kind of hilariously obvious how old I am. If you look at the games that I play on here. Grew up, early 90s. Started playing video games in 1990 when I was 2. And I've spent a lot of time thinking about like nostalgia and stuff like that. And nostalgia is always fun. It's a good time to be able to be like, oh, remember this, remember that. But the other thing about it is that I don't know that it's all nostalgia for me. It's hard to separate out because I obviously grew up with this stuff, so it very well may be just so hard encoded in my mind that this is what video games are that I don't know one way or the other. But I think that I have found I do like plenty of 3D games, but I feel like just in terms of just raw gameplay, video games have more or less peaked in this era for me, because it's the combination of the Super NES era, the 16-bit era in general, came a lot later for video games than it did for computers. There were a couple of 16-bit based consoles early on, but it wasn't really until, at least in the West, it wasn't until you started seeing the Super NES and the Sega Genesis that this era really started. And in a lot of cases, I think that there wasn't as much innovation in this period as there was in like the 80s. Just because people were, deciding what a video game is. Coming out of the 70s, it was just a simulation of an activity in most cases. Either an existing game like checkers or tic-tac-toe or whatever, And then even into stuff like Space Invaders or Pac-Man, where it's like it's not exactly okay, so this is one of the most satisfying boss fights in the world, because once you get the timing down, you completely obliterate this guy. He doesn't even get to move. Anyway. Yeah, like, so, you know, you look at like people, video games were new, so people were still trying to determine what a video game can do and what we can do in them. Early 80s stuff, you were competing against something, whether you were competing against the computer or you were competing against another player. So that's stuff like Pong, you know, any kind of like boxing or sports game, stuff like, again, Pac-Man and that sort of milieu. You were basically just competing to see who could get the highest score, and whether that was against another player or just against the computer, didn't matter. You were still basically competing. And then in the 90s, like going into the late 80s, we start getting stuff like Super Mario Brothers or Zelda, especially. I think Zelda is a very, very good example of this, where video games weren't just about simulating an activity, whether real or imagined. It was about giving you control in a world and then letting you explore and see what you can find. And, you know, this is something I actually wrote a paper about when I was in college. Basically just this idea, like we very much, you know, try to put genres and dichotomies into video games with stuff like, oh, this is a multiplayer game, or this is, you know, whatever. Get that. We're gonna get that E-tank filled up about halfway there. But I feel like the biggest division in video games is that some games are about competition and some games are about telling a story. Now, you know, in early games, Zelda or Mario or whatever, you know, it's a very simple story. You're telling the story of how Mario went and saved the princess, and you decide, you know, the way that it actually happens. And that's the biggest distinction for me, is that I feel like video games that are created from that Miyamoto style mold are about telling a story, regardless of how simple. It can be as complex as, like, you know, the Blade Runner. I don't know why that's the first thing that jumps to my mind. I guess it's because it's my favorite movie, but you know, the Blade Runner adventure game that's telling a really complicated story. Or similarly, even stuff like, I don't really like David Cage, creator of like Heavy Rain and Indigo Prophecy and stuff like that. But stuff like Between Two Souls or Detroit, whatever that game was called, you know, very much about telling a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And typically you get to tell the middle, and the beginning and the end are what propel you into the middle. And I feel like, you know, that's why, you know, you tell somebody like, you know, do you like video games? And their answers can be very different. You can get answers like, you know, oh yeah, I love video games. I play Call of Duty online all the time. Or, yeah, me and my buddies play Madden all the time. And like those, like obviously those games aren't about storytelling. You could kind of look at them that way. But I think that the lack of, you know, the lack of man versus, what am I trying to say here? The lack of a an existing... I'm not even sure how I want to say that to actually explain it correctly. It's one of those things that my brain can't create words to describe what I'm talking about. Let's see. Oh, gotta get these turtles, though. That's obviously the most important. Damn. Almost made it. Anyway. Yeah, you're inhabiting a character, whereas when you play Madden or you play Call of Duty Online, multiplayer, you're not playing as a character. You're playing as just a self-insert or a generic character, like whatever you want to say. Even if you have a skin of like whatever is going on in Fortnite, God knows that I don't know. It's like you can play as like Edward Scissorhands beating up Homer Simpson or whatever. But even if you're inhabiting those characters, you're not actually playing as them. Those characters don't exist in the world. You just have that look. As opposed to something like this, where there's a narrative arc to what you're doing. You almost get defeated at the beginning and Zero saves you. And then you go in to try to defeat the rest of these Mavericks and figure out where they're coming from. And by the end of the game, it's over. And what you have done is completed that character's arc. And that's as opposed to, competitive gaming where you're just like, you're not trying to get the character from point A to point B. You were trying to see what you can accomplish with in a given thing, just as with like sports. And I feel like there's like a huge difference between those two things, It's a fundamentally, and that's why it was so weird for a while when they were trying to cram multiplayer sideways into all kinds of video games. Even places that it didn't belong, like Assassin's Creed. Although I will say the Assassin's Creed multiplayer modes did end up being pretty cool, but it still probably doesn't make any sense that they had them. That's right, got this work underwater. You can't shoot a flamethrower underwater, as it turns out. They become completely useless. But yeah, that's not to say that like one is better than the other, or that one is bad and one is good. They're just fundamentally different approaches to making a game. And I think that when you are messing around with, like, I know for me personally, and this is probably a neurodivergency thing, but I get absolutely nothing out of competing, ever. There's nothing I've ever competed in. I've won things, I have lost things. I just don't care. Like, it doesn't bother me either way. Doesn't get me super excited when I win at something. Not least of all because the things that I can win at, say a Street Fighter tournament, are things that not a lot of people spend the time to do. So my hyperfixation on, playing video games, especially old video games, really helps me out there. Yeah, anyway, that's 30 minutes straight of me talking about, ludonarrative ideas. All I know is I want to give me some of that pizza tonight. Love pizza, baby. Oh, this is probably the hardest boss. I'm really, really bad at fighting Launch Octopus. I do love, and we'll notice it as we go in here, Launch Octopus fully does the points at you and then points down kind of thing. That's very funny to me. I love the idea of an octopus being like, "We're going down, bitch." Doesn't help that the weapon... Oh, you know what? Maybe... I think maybe he's weaker to homing missiles. Who am I supposed to use? I should really... This is one of the only games in the series I've never looked at an FAQ for, because by the time I started, you know, I had the first game and I had this one, and those were the only two Mega Man games. Now I rented the other 5 Mega Man games on the NES a lot, but this is the only one that I had, and very similar to the first Mega Man, I have my own boss order kind of mapped out in my mind. Did that say homing torpedoes? Or am I imagining that? Huh. Let's see here. Boomer Quanger, who is a bull, I think. Don't know. I know it's supposed to be Boomeranger. I don't know where they're getting Quanger. I should really look that up. That'd be something interesting to know. Fun fact about me and the Mega Man games. I was a dope as a kid, and I did not know that you could use the enemy's powers after you beat them at all. Like, I had no idea that that was even an option. And somehow didn't even put it together after I played the later games that make it much more obvious. I was just always totally baffled by the menu that would expand as you beat bosses. And it was, I think I was probably like 7 or 8 before I realized you could do that. There were a lot of games that I had like that. ActRaiser, for example, on the Super NES, another classic that I would love to play on here someday. It took me, I was probably like 8 or 9 before I even could figure out how to get through the menus to play the game. I had no idea what I was doing. And it was absurd. Like, I would start the game and try to figure it out, and then I would sit there on the menus for 20 minutes fighting with it, trying to get it to do anything or become a game in any way. And I never could get it figured out. Had the same problem with Super Ghouls and Ghosts, which was a big early hit on the SNES, and almost certainly the best game in the series. I didn't realize that you could double jump. So I you know, would start the game and you know, and jump into the game, and then I would just stand there killing zombies without moving forward at all until time ran out and I died, because that was all I could figure out how to do. So definitely don't take all of that faux scholarly analysis of gameplay styles as anything particularly serious, coming from somebody that's that dumb. No, I'd never encountered double jumping, so it's one of those things. It's like, it's so impossible that it doesn't even occur to me. You know, you can't do it at all in real life. I say that. Apparently, Bruce Lee could double jump. He could, like, whip his core muscles in such a way that he would jump and then bounce up again and have like extra height off of it. But yeah, just the concept that was so outside of, like, even in a fantasy game, I was like, there's, if only I could jump twice. But I would never try it. All right, that's awesome. We're like over halfway through the game at this point. I've got some power-ups to collect. We're actually going to jump right back into that level with our new weapon, and we're going to pick up that heart tank that we missed. Kind of thing. Let's see. Need to go back here to get a heart tank. I think I got the one there. Every level has a heart tank. A few levels, 4 levels, have new parts for X, which I'm looking forward to. Assuming I can remember where they are. Memory's not been too great lately. I'm trying to think of other games that I want to play on here. I do want to circle around to some Commodore stuff, maybe. You know, our beloved viewer base, you guys, seem to really enjoy anytime Commodore software or hardware is brought up on the main channel. So I'm a big fan of C64 games. So I think maybe we'll do like a little grab bag of those. Just take a look at some of the big ones on that system, or that computer, I suppose. Let's see. Bruce Lee. Kickstart. I think of C64 games that jump out to me. So we're gonna hop up here. This is where you see that returning to levels becomes necessary, because you can hop up there and grab another heart tank, and then we can use the escape U, which I'm not entirely sure what that means. Maybe escape utility. And then we'll go back to Boomer Quanger's stage. I guess it's not Quanger. I guess it's Kuwanger, because there is a U in there. Finish that up. And then we're going to go into Sting Chameleon stage. I'm just going to fly through this since I don't have to fight the boss. There we go. Get them turtles. Really should I as a kid I had item hoarder syndrome, where I never ever used any of the boss abilities in a stage because I was afraid I would need them later. Kind of the same thing, the way that you end a Final Fantasy game with like 15 mega elixirs that you could have used at any point in the game, still in your inventory. Definitely had a lot of problems with that too. Although I was actually worse than most people, because I straight up would not use magic unless I was fighting boss, which made the games a lot more difficult and tedious than they needed to be. Particularly Final Fantasy IV, which seems to be largely balanced around magic, as opposed to like something like Final Fantasy VI, which is kind of more focused on all-around abilities. Same thing with Final Fantasy VII. You can give whatever magic you want to anybody. Oh, we've almost made it. There we go. Okay. I hate this thing, because I always have trouble getting it. Got it on the second try there, so never mind. But, I think that's... I think there's like one more. No, there's got these two. let's see. I think there's a E-tank here in Spark Mandrill's stage. Let's see if we can find that. Oh, we have gone too early. I'm actually not sure which. I thought it was beating him and then going back into the stage. Everything is broken, but I guess there's another boss that you have to fight first to get it to do that. So we'll go ahead and move in here and finish up Sting Chameleon. Sting Chameleon, a remix of his theme music here, was used on NPR several years ago, which completely blew my mind when I heard it. Freaked a bunch of people out that they were getting into that stuff and it was being used on like a major national effort. Great. Now they kind of use video game music all the time, which is not a bad thing. It works very well for a lot of stuff. Let's see. We have to go up here and beat this guy. Stand here and wait for these blocks to appear behind me here. I hate this thing. You have to jump to be able to hit it in the head, because its hands are invincible, because he uses the clamps. But it's not too. It's far from the worst boss in the game. Thankfully, his attack is very slow, and he spends most of his time just kind of hopping around like a bunny. He's the bunny ball. And it's weird to me that he's the only boss that they bothered to give this like puff of smoke effect to as he starts getting beaten. I guess it's because his life bar is really egregious. So you'll have some idea of how well you're doing. I think technically, like, it's one of those things like with I think this is the armor, if I remember correctly. This capsule contains a new type of body armor. It will reduce damage to your systems by 50%. I'm Santa Claus. Okay. X continues getting cooler looking. So now that's 2 of the body upgrades. We'll get the next one, I think, in the next stage, actually. Now, did that drop? No. There we go. There we go. I guess I could have done this. Should have paid more attention to exactly what I needed. I was thinking for some reason you had to have the water level down to get across it. Now that I think about it, I don't think there's any way to get across it without the water level being up. These guys. Hey, I'm Tony Boulder. Get a load of this rock. You know, this is a much more serious game than most of the previous entries in the series. But it does kind of bring up something that the more that you think about it, the more you realize that it's bizarre. The fact that that somebody has taken the time in history to build a robot woodpecker. Like, what possible use could you have for a robot woodpecker? Like, you know, in the early games, the early Mega Man games, it's all stuff that makes sense. Bomb Man, he's used for demolition. Guts Man, he's used for construction. He can lift really heavy stuff. But then, like, as the games go on later, they start, like, Capcom Japan started taking recommendations for new characters from just whoever. from school children, basically. And it led to a lot more imaginative stuff that really doesn't make any sense, such as like Nightman. People always make fun of Woodman, but you know, it's dumb that he's a robot made of wood, but at least you can kind of like, okay, well, he's probably for chopping wood. That's helpful somehow, sure. Yamato Man is one of my favorite examples of that, because that's such a nebulous concept anyway. It's like call him Japan Man, like the fake drug dealer from Akewood. Okay, so that takes care of Sting Chameleon. We'll go on to the next, the last, and maybe the best stage in the game. Certainly in terms of music. Here's Storm Eagle. Storm Eagle's music is awesome. And there's so much cool stuff in it. It's difficult. The level feels huge. Tons of hidden stuff in it. Just a really, really cool level. I think that's our last heart tank. Uh-oh. Whoa. Oh, man. Got that last minute save and I still screwed it up. Oh, well. I think I have like 8 lives anyway. I got 6. I would have 8 if I hadn't died those 2 times. Back to what I was saying, like 45 minutes ago. That's close. It takes so long to break those down. I really should just use the flamethrower. Yeah, going back to what I was saying about like my experience with video games. I think that, you know, there wasn't as much innovation in the 16-bit era. Not to say that there was none, certainly there was plenty, but, you know, it wasn't as much of a totally new medium as it was in the 80s. So, you know, going into the end of the 90s and the beginning of the the end of the 80s and the beginning of the 90s, I feel like there was, like, people had figured out, like, okay, one of the things that people like, they like narratives, whether they're strong ones or they're weak ones, where they're trying to play out a story as opposed to just competing against the computer to see how high they can get, as Donkey Kong put it. In the 90s, and particularly as you go into, like, the mid-90s, it feels like everything was... feels like a lot of the games that were coming out were variations on and refinements of the types of video games that they figured out work in the 80s and on the, you know, the NES and stuff like that. Just as with any particularly innovative product, it took, you know, the industry years to catch up to the ideas that were presented in Super Mario Brothers, which is why you see, like, the original Super Mario Brothers had a score option, and that stuck around until after Mario World, I think, was the last one. Oh, I messed that up so bad. Oh, man, all the way back to the beginning. Anyway. Yeah, so I feel like the games that came out in this era were refinements, you know, stuff that, you know, it wouldn't be too terribly often that it would be like, oh, and it's an entirely new genre that did not exist before this game came out, like you start to see in the 80s. There were no maze games before Pac-Man. There were no, or like not that type of maze game. Uh, you know, there were no sports games before Pong, with the, exception of variations on Pong, like Tennis for Two, or the Magnavox Brown Box, or the Ralph Baer Brown Box, rather, as it came out as the Odyssey from Magnavox. Locally produced, also, if I'm not mistaken. I know the Odyssey 2 was produced here in Knoxville, but I believe the Odyssey 1 was as well, if I remember correctly. In any case, my point is that, this game doesn't really do anything new compared to the older games, outside of just having a more serious story, but you start to see that the developers are, taking advantage of the new console's ability to render graphics quickly, as opposed to because on the NES, one of the main impressive things about Super Mario Brothers when it first came out is that it was one continuous level. It wasn't just a series of still screens. And even some versions of Mario Brothers actually were just variations of still screens, like Super Mario Brothers Special, the Japanese computer version of the original game, which adds some new levels and some new concepts at the cost of it being, severely underpowered. I'm trying to think of what console that was. PC 88, I think. I can't remember correctly, but yeah. That was the big innovation there. And the innovations that are in this game compared to the original Mega Man, which initially mostly had small, large, but still fairly single screen areas that would load into existence as you hit the edge of the screen or whatever. Climbed a ladder, went through a door, that kind of thing. There he goes. Thanks, bud. And there we go. That is our last regular bonus. Clean up, get a few additional items here, and then we will go take on Sigma. But yeah, if you look at the original Mega Man as a game that you were climbing across different screens, but you would stay on the one screen and have to get past the puzzle, whether it was a combat puzzle or a trap of some kind or whatever. And in this game, you can just fully skip over entire parts of the level. You have the game gives you the tools that you need to be able to switch up your play style in a way that games didn't before. Not that this was the first to do it, but yeah, just like that sort of thing. You start seeing these really great refinements to existing video game tropes, and I think that that's why this is my favorite era for video games. It's like the old argument about iPhones. People are like, do you get the iPhone 5 that year, where you're that's where it is. Okay. Use the B cutter. I think I have to, God, how do I do that? There we go. Okay. Totally lost my train of thought. I get used to that. That's a big part of my ADHD. I just cannot talk about the same thing for more than... If I get interrupted at all, I have no idea what I'm talking about. Let's see, we gotta go back to Flame Menace stage. And now that I think about it, we do not have the helmet. I forgot to get that, so we're going to have to leave it. But anyway, yeah, ultimately that's my point, is that games in this era refined and fixed a lot of the issues with a lot of the rough edges, I guess I'll say, because they're not really issues. Like, a lot of those games still work fine, but they just don't play as well as this game. Same thing with a lot of the Mega Man games. Like, Mega Man's very slow. He's he can't do a lot of things to avoid shots aside from jumping over them, or standing beneath them. Whereas this game leans more heavily into the idea that you're playing as a character, and they give that character different abilities. And it makes the gameplay a lot more fun and a lot smoother. With stuff like, I can switch between weapons on the fly with the R or L button, instead of having to stop down and go to a menu and pick what I want, all that kind of stuff. It's just, the graphics start getting a lot better. You start seeing stuff a lot more clearly. You can, things aren't just like a mess of pixels. Which, also has its own charm. I do like a lot of... That's the thing about, like, these periods, is, like, you think about it as, like, oh, I was a 16-bit kid, but, I started on the NES before the Super NES came out, and I had a bunch of old NES games. I think this is what I missed here. There we go. Yeah, baby. That was a 1-up. That's not what I needed. Yeah. So, ultimately, that's my point, is that games in this era start becoming a lot easier to control and a lot more intuitive. I remember what I was saying earlier. It is like the iPhone. Do you get the iPhone 5 the year that it comes out because it has new features, or do you wait for the 5S, which is just the 5 with new ability, or like refinements that kind of adjust it. And I think that's where I fall, is that while I like the periods of innovation that we've had, for example, at the beginning of the 32-bit period, when people were trying to figure out what a 3D game is, I feel like, for me personally, I really enjoy 2D games for the most part. I do like some 3D games, but I prefer 2D games. And I feel that the best 2D games that were ever released, most of them came out on this console. Or in this era, I guess I'll say, because a lot of them were also on the Sega Genesis. Same thing with the PC Engine, the TurboGrafx. A lot of great games on that thing. Technically sort of not 16-bit. It's just got, I think, an 8-bit processor and an 8-bit video processor that's separate from it. So it could render really good-looking graphics, but it was limited on what it could do in terms of, like, holding variables and stuff like that. Oh, that's right. That's right. So this is another neat thing, is that if you... Now I'm going to have to figure out where that other E-tank is. But you can actually skip this upgrade entirely, which is what I'm going to do. And go into the first Sigma level, and we'll see what happens here. As we get into here, we beam in with 0. Let's split up. I'll go in first, and then you can slip in while I keep the main defense force busy. That's my 0 voice. Set this turtle on fire. F you, Dr. Kane. Let's see. There we go. Okay. These platforms are fairly difficult. Like awkward angles and Oh, these things, which I feel like those enemies use the same AI as the red Aramers, the demons from the Ghosts and Goblins games, where they know they can get like right up next to you and they know exactly where you're going to stop so that you get hit, but you don't manage to hit them. Some of the most fiendish and annoying AI of any enemy in any video game, to me. Although it's a lot worse in... man, I'm so... oh, no! I'm so clumsy today. I guess because I'm trying... making the effort to talk, even if what I'm saying doesn't make much sense. That always takes away from my pro skills here. My esports quality robot kills. Ugh, it's so dumb. Oh, that was a dumb idea. Why did I do that? I should have just been patient. 90% of my problems beating video games is because I'm too impatient. I said that turtle to give me... anyway, yeah, that red Aramer behavior, like that, where they chase you and smack into you, way more dangerous in the Ghouls and Ghosts or Ghosts and Goblins games, simply because you only get at most, I think, 3 hits in most of those games. Some of them you only get 2. You get your regular armor and Arthur's nudity, which he... oh, here we go. Okay. Vile, I'm pretty sure is his name. Stay back, X. I'll take him on. My Zero is played by David Schwimmer. Owen Wilson. Oh, jeez. I got blowed up again. So yeah, we turned down... don't listen to him, Max. Go ahead and blast them. Dream on, Zero. X knows he can't defeat me. My armored carrier is more than a match for his ancient weapons. Doing some damage with this thing. Pretty sure you're supposed to lose, though. Guess really I should just let him do it. Now, I think they remade this game on the PSP, and I think it was a big promotional push from Capcom and Sony in the hopes of, resurrecting the popularity of the Mega Man series. They released Maverick Hunter, Mega Man X Maverick Hunter, which I think was the name of the remake of this game, and Mega Man Powered Up, which was sort of a remake of the first game, but with an enormous quantity of new stuff in it. Powered Up is one of the best games in the Mega Man series. Maverick Hunter is good. It's not nearly as good as Powered Up is compared to the first one. Yeah, I believe you can actually play as him, and I think it has something to do with getting defeated. Don't, quote me on that, because I can't remember for sure. But I think it has something to do with getting defeated there. And then you can play as him, as Vile. Pretty sure it's Vile. Anyway. Whoa! There we go. Stand here while he explodes. Don't move back or anything, dear X. Well, that's done. Moving on. More powerful than you were before. Sigma's much more than he appears to be. Which is good, because he appears to be Quan Chi from the Mortal Kombat games. Yeah, so this is our big bonus for skipping the X-Buster upgrade before. And I believe that because we got the one from Sigma, I think that's what does it. This is not only a more powerful attack that I can charge up, we can actually get new uses out of all of our abilities. Some of them are really good, too. This one, not so much, but just blast a bunch of homing robot fish into that knight with the shield and flail. It actually was pretty effective on him. Huh. Hate those things. Again, because of my impatience, really. They're not that difficult to defeat. I'm just frequently unwilling to do anything. There we go. Oh, squeeze out. Come on. There we go. Okay. Here we are. We get the classic boss rush. Now I regret using this weapon so much, but Boomer Quanger is very easy if you have the homing missiles, because they do a lot of damage and you don't have to, aim. Without them, he's rather difficult, actually. Because of stuff like that. And it even knocks your weapon off, which is very frustrating. Go through here. Oh, what are these guys called? Me tools, I think. Kind of iconic enemies somehow. I don't know how they became such, but even by the end of the classic game, you were fighting bosses based on them and stuff like that. Let's see, if I can't remember where the other sub-tank is, I don't think that I can show off. I don't think I can show off the Hadouken. I think you have to have 4 full sub-tanks. So we'll take a look at that here. Oh, there goes the train. Oh, I hate this boss. You want to talk about impatience? This boss takes forever, and I can never read those paths the way that I need to. At least you do still get these little guys. I think they drop items in some certain cases. Weirdly, playing this game always does get me in the mood to play Mortal Kombat. I don't know if it's just because I took kind of a break from the Mortal Kombat series between, like, 3 and... or Trilogy, I guess. Technically, Trilogy is my favorite. But it is just a version of MK3. Between, yeah, Trilogy and pretty much Mortal Kombat 9, the reboot. I played a little bit of Deadly Alliance and the other one, whatever the other one's called. Deadly Alliance was really good. I don't remember much about the other one, but like, even as somebody who is a lifelong video game fan, for whatever reason, I was just completely checked out the entire PS2 generation. Not to say that there weren't good games that came out in that period. You know, Final Fantasy X was all right. Obviously, the Metal Gear games, the best ones. Although I don't think there's really been a bad one. Yeah, I completely checked out in that period from video games. I think I had an Xbox, and I think I owned like 5 games for it, as opposed to the Super NES, which I was still buying new games for while the PS2 was out. Part of that, I think, is because I associate the 2000s in general with the advent of my depression as my hormones changed. I'm gonna look right quick here and see if I can figure out where that other sub-tank is. Hate being a cheater here, but I don't want to waste anybody's time. No, I got that one. Oh, Armored Armadillo. That's right. I know what I did. Okay. So, hope you're prepared to see Armored Armadillo stage another 4 times in a row. Three and a half, I guess. Really good music here, too. I'll try to put it in the comments once this is done, but there's a really good ska version of this theme that has lyrics, which I'm always a big fan of video game songs that add lyrics. And this is a particularly good one because it's the the lyrics aren't really about Mega Man, I don't think, but just uses the tune, and it sounds real good on horns. Hella bats in here. I feel like that's something Mega Man has to say a lot. Bro, there is hell of bats in here. Let's see, I think I need to drop down. Nope. Nope, I think I passed it. Hell. Alright. So yeah, let's make that 4 times. Not 3.5. This is the worst I've done in playing through this game in many years. When I'm just playing without trying to talk, I typically can beat the game. Remember where everything is and beat the game without losing a life. That was not my fault. That was the bizarre physics that they use on these carts, so I don't take the blame for that. Although I guess I could have just jumped at the right time instead of screwing that up, so that's sort of... Alright. Now I think... Don't know why I made a Ray Romano sound there. Deborah! The tank's gonna kill me! That was a little bit Kermit. But I guess the span between those two is not very much. Oh wait, I do... Alright. I think you have to have the sub-tanks filled, if I remember correctly. I know that there were a lot of like incorrect notions about the last big secret in the game, many of which I've fallen prey to. But I think you do have to have full sub-tanks, so we're just going to do that right quick like here. Stop doing this. That's annoying for somebody to do directly to a microphone. But the music is so good. Yeah, this surprisingly controversial game. Not in terms of what we, usually think of as video game controversies today, but a lot of people hate the Mega Man X series, and it doesn't help that it kind of became garbage after Keiji Inafune initially stopped working on the Mega Man series. He has not really done very well since leaving Capcom, so maybe it's not totally because of it. The story just kept getting more convoluted and more confusing. Is that it? We do it? No. And the games just weren't as good. Like, a lot of people, there's a lot of, people love Mega Man 2. And Mega Man 2 is a fine game, but, I don't know why people prefer it so much over 3, which I think is the best game in the series. If I were to rank them, I would honestly probably say just 1 through 6. I don't know. We'll do 1 through 8. How about that? So I think my ranking for that would be 3. 3, 5, 6, 1, 2, and then 1. And then, well, I'd probably put 8 over either of those. So maybe we'll say that instead. All right. So let's go ahead and go through here and beat this level a few times. Yeah, I think I would say 3 is my favorite. 5 is my second favorite. 6 is good. And then I think I would say 8, and then 2, 1, 4, and 7. 7's the only one that I would say is not good in any way. Even Mega Man 4, which has some bad levels, it's and the worst music in the series. It just got very bland for whatever reason. But especially compared to 3, its immediate predecessor, and I think that's because they switched composers. I think the same group did the first 3 games, and then 4 and 1 were a different team. Because 4 came out as they were preparing to move into the Super NES era, so they had all of their A people working on that stuff. Yeah, 4's got its moments. 7, man, the Dark Man level or Shade Man, I think maybe was his name. That may be from a different game, I don't know. But the Shade Man level was pretty good. That's about it. I really feel like the rest of Mega Man 7 is pretty bad. It felt like they didn't have, they had like a D team working on it. Like they just left an intern in the basement by himself to create Mega Man 7, and it didn't come out very well. I don't like, and they continued this. I guess it was a popular feature. I don't really like it. The fact that you can buy items, like, it obviates the need to harvest items like I did at the beginning of this sequence, but even still, I think it's tedious to buy items in this game. just makes it feel like, well, you have to buy the maximum quantity of everything, because you can't expect to get it from the levels. So I've never been a big fan of that. But also it's really stiff and slow, especially compared to this game and its sequels, where you're whipping around these tracks like super fast. You can boost jump off of a mine cart and go super duper high and fast. And 7 feels like a Super NES game, but it feels like a Super NES game. Like the NES games feel like it's justified that they're that slow. And it doesn't affect the quality of the gameplay. But in 7, it just feels... Here we go. Yeah. We'll do this one more time, and pray that you don't have to have 9 lives. I think that's one of the things that I misunderstood. But, yeah. If not, then we are going to get our last secret, which I'm very excited. Oh, it did the same thing again. God. Okay. You jump at the wrong moment in that. The backwards momentum that you have for some reason from jumping off of the minecart will send you into that pit with no way to escape it. It's frustrating. See, if I had not tried to use my jet booster, it would have been. I think maybe that's what it is with Mega Man 7, is that everything moves like it does in this game because it's on the Super NES, except for Mega Man, who moves like he did in the older games. And I think maybe that's what it is about it. Oh, that happens, Kate. And the only choice that you have, because you can't jump far enough without it, is to go all the way back to it. Speaking of minecarts, I think that would be another fun playthrough here. In my previous life, as a streamer, a long time ago. Okay, so that didn't work. I'm gonna look up the exact correct instructions for this. Anyway, yeah, in my previous life as a streamer, I played a lot of rare games for whatever reason. Let's see, for sub-tanks, you don't have to fill the sub-tanks, so I wasted time there. Come across the final platform that you can ride through. Ride the platform until it flies off the track and out of the mine. Dash jump in the cart, over the wall. Oh, you have to commit Mega Man suicide. Okay. Well, I can do that. If you've never seen this game before and you don't know what this secret is, I promise it's worth it. It's a good one. It's one of the better secrets ever in video games, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, I played a lot of rare games when I was just streaming for myself rather than for Vintage Geek here. And somehow, I don't know how this happened, I developed a reputation for being a person who focuses on the games of legendary British developer Rare, also known as Ultimate Play the Game. One of my favorite titles ever for a company. They also never decided fully on Rare. Sometimes they were Rare, sometimes they were Rareware. But yeah, I played through all 3 of the Donkey Kong Country games. Played through all of GoldenEye, all of Perfect Dark, a couple of times actually, because I think I had people request it. Yeah, just all kinds of stuff. And I may get back around those and have a stream of me playing. Oh, no, we did it that time. Yes! I give you a special present. Now, enter the capsule, please. As you can see, he's dressed like Ryu. And that is because the ability that we're getting is the Hadouken. Really funny addition to this game. You literally have to do the Hadouken motion, the down, left, or down, right. And he blasts out a Ryu-style Street Fighter Hadouken. And it's awesome because one hit kills almost every enemy in the game, including the final bosses. Although it is very, very difficult to use it on Sigma. Oh, fell right into that. That was dumb. Okay, there we go. Over this dude. Ah, that time I wasn't being greedy. That time I just literally screwed up. Personally, I think Dr. Light should have taken time to make his robots better at moving platforms. That should have been something that he really focused on after the first 8 times that it repeatedly killed Mega Man. Always the biggest problem that Mega Man has. It's just Dr. Light can't program that kind of stuff. So let's see if we can blast him with a Hadouken here. Oh, nope, we can't. You have to have full health to use it. So we'll just light him on fire. That seems to work for most animals. Oh. He's zipping around here. Oh, I'm better at this game than this. Oop. I'm clumsy. I don't know why I'm clumsy, but I'm clumsy. Again, I think just a neurodivergence thing combined with I don't know, various brain issues, whatever it is. There, we lit that penguin on fire. Mega Man just stares, blinks. Try and steal my carrier. Dick. Yeah, there we go. That's what these are called. I think. Armor carriers, I think. Really need to bone up on my Mega Man lore enemy. I can't remember like any enemy names from this game. Pretty much every enemy in every Mega Man game has a name of some sort. And I don't know any of them, the bosses. the ones that are named in the game. What's up, homeboy? Whoa. Slide out of the way. What's up? The charge ability for this is one of the most busted abilities in the game, because it just makes you straight up invincible to everything, or to very nearly everything, for a one-time cost. I know speedrunners and the like, I think, usually abuse the living hell out of that ability. Oh, that's right. The level doesn't just end there, because this isn't Storm Eagle. Toe Jam and Earl is another game that I would like to revisit. I never finished it. It's one of my favorites ever. I really need to go back to it. Same thing with Toe Jam and Earl 2. Another big, iconic game for me from this period. See, this is another example where the Hadouken is basically useless. So, have not gotten to show it off at all yet. It's kind of a bummer that you have to... let's see, what is the best thing to use? Huh. Go. Man, I'm just gonna use the Mega Busters. I'm making no progress here. Crap. Shot it the wrong way. Alright. There. Broca Eye. I always felt like this boss looks like a giant version of Spark Manual. Oh, we've almost got it. The red eye's got to drop in. See what it can do. Opposed to the green one that just sits there. Oh, right. You're supposed to kill this thing, too. Oh! I realized at the exact moment that he hit me that I should have used an E-tank. Well, here we go with this guy again. At least this time I'll realize that I can actually shoot this thing now. I was thinking for some reason you had to beat the eyes first. See, the blue eye and the red eye like to look at you. They get real close and see what you're doing. Green eye doesn't care. Almost got it. Well, for for people who are looking for the world's clumsiest Mega Man play, I think we really have something to offer. Yeah, broke that. Broke that eye. Got 2 in 1 round. This wall. Try not to fall into the spike pit. Seems like there's an unusual amount of spike pits in these robot levels. Like, you don't see people doing that now for, like, Osimo or anything. Like, Osimo works in a little factory, but there's a giant pit of spikes around him. So if you want to repair him, you gotta jump in and do that. Let's see. I think this is the last level, if I remember correctly. Maybe not. No, I guess it can't be. I'm still gonna fight. Yeah, these guys. I love that he's called Armored Armadillo, and you knock the armor off of it at the very beginning of the fight. Yeah, that's another thing I think that people don't like about this game, and the X games in general. They're pretty easy once you know what you need to do. This game in particular, X2 and X3, which are the only ones I've played to completion, not nearly as bad about it, but yeah, there we go. Boy, get down off of that wall. Once you get the timing down, you can just kind of do this. Again, pitifully. I think I still gotta fight Octopus. Also, you can see that they were kind of running out of ideas. Either ideas or time to build levels. Because if you look at how elaborate the last couple of levels were, and then compared to this, which is basically just walking from one boss to another with some enemies in the middle. Let's use that butt cutter. Whoops. There we go. Now we're gonna rush in. Pretty sure this is the launch of Octopus. No, I forgot about Spark. Yeah, it's like, oh man, there's just gotta be another level. We didn't get all the bosses at the end. And if you go with the idea that, like, you're progressing through Sigma's big weird castle or whatever, like, the idea that he can watch you beating these bosses this easily is very funny to me. Like, man, those were my elite guards. I had them right in front of my office. Did the Hadouken to get out of that fish. Now I'm going to end up getting hit. There we go. Let's see if I can hit him with the Hadouken. That would be sweet. Nope. Failed very quickly at that. Did not time it. I think he's also weak against, like, you can snip his arms off or something. Oh, man. his weapon, so that's... There we go. Take them arms off, boy. I think the only enemy in the game who has that response to a weapon other than the one that you're supposed, quote unquote, supposed to use. Yeah. There we go. Okay. I guess I got Flame Mammoth left. I guess is the only enemy I still have to beat. Now, if we can get into Flame Mammoth, then we're in business. Oh, neat trick here, if you know how to use these items. Blow this thing up. Then we'll charge it. Plop this little guy out. And we're going to ride this bird. Not that it did me a whole lot of good. I guess you're supposed to use invincibility to get through there. Whatever. This is normally a very popular weapon with people watching, or people doing like speed runs and stuff, because it frequently hits more than once. We F that health up. Take that half a lump. I'm trying to think of what the actual boss is here. Oh yeah, this thing. Yeah, this is not a very difficult boss, especially compared to the last two, which were also not crazy difficult, but are at least annoying. How'd that go before? Oh, that thing. I forgot it. Oh, and you can't handle it. Ah. Get that ball away from me. Oof. I've never seen a robot react so nonchalantly to being hit by a car. All right. That does it for that boss. The matchbox car that I just destroyed. And then I think that makes this the actual final level. Yeah. And he conveniently gives you some robot caterpillars that you can use to fill up your sub-tanks before you go in. Very nice of him to do. Don't know why he did it. I would assume he would have had to, though, because these aren't natural caterpillars. It's not like they just made a little home here. These are robotic caterpillars, I guess, for robotic woodpeckers to eat. Oh, man. Okay, so not too far. Extra life. Oh, it's tedious television. I hope you're enjoying being able to watch stuff on the internet. There we go. I think I got it. Yeah. Okay. top here eventually. There we go. Oh, I better get on my spot. Get on my mark. So you managed to get here by yourself. Very impressive. Could destroy you, but I would not rob my pet of that pleasure. I built a robot dog, and he's my baby. Sometimes I wonder who rescued who. Ah, I was really hoping I could get off the Hadouken, because this is a fairly difficult boss. One of them, maybe the most difficult in the game, honestly. Again, still not anything crazy, but yeah. I've mostly here so far stuck to games that I'm familiar with for these playthroughs. Mostly just because that makes for better videos, generally speaking. Because I can actually show you all of the game as opposed to falling short and dying, which greatly extends the length of the game. Whoop. Yeah, there we go. Let's see if I can... Yeah! Suck it, Sigma. Oh, I got a tiny head and a giant body. Got a big, terrible looking robot. I think it's possible in like certain situations to actually hit him, but I think this is the weapon. So. Yeah, mostly have stuck to games that I know, but I think that's probably going to be changing soon. For you guys, we may do. Wish I had paid attention to my life bar there, because now we're gonna have to do the entire thing over again. Ugh. Being a little bit more generous, so at least there's that. But yeah, I'm thinking maybe, you know, we're gonna do some C64 games, and I think we may do another computer, another microcomputer, something like the TI-99 or the Coco color computer. Both of which I'm not super familiar with the video games for. The TI-99 was originally going to be just a standalone video game console until they realized it was pretty easy to add computer functionality to it. And then they tried to turn it into a rival to everything. Ran themselves out of the business. Almost got it. Oh, but I'm doing way better on Sigma's dog this time. Yeah. See, like this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about when I say refinements. So, like, if you look at like the NES Mega Man games, it's like all about memorizing patterns, and then you've got your slide and your jump. And you don't even have the slide in the first couple of games. I forgot that drains the whole... I did it, and I hit him, and I missed. Oh, it's probably gonna waste me, to be because this is also a very difficult boss. Yeah. Okay, that's kind of what I was expecting. I don't think I would have made it through all of those. So, at least we don't have to spend as much time filling up the E-tank here. Stray extra life in here again. No, still going. Yeah, the NES games, the boss fights in particular, were just all about pattern memorization, and that's the only way that you could beat the level. Is you had to memorize the pattern, or otherwise he was going to stomp you. And if you won without memorizing the pattern, you either got lucky or he has an ability that he's particularly weak against that you can just kind of cheese it with, like I do with Spark Mandrill and the Shotgun Ice, so he doesn't even get to move. Whereas this game, the dash in particular, but several different things about the way that this game plays give you a lot of different ways to adapt your play style. It's way more difficult to get the Hadouken off in this game. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's stage 1 Sigma that I'm thinking of. That's difficult because the dog's pretty easy. Why do I keep? I think maybe the later games let you use less, like just partial uses of the sub-tanks. There we go. Yeah, baby. Now I just need to actually pay attention as I fight this last thing here, and then we will actually finish this game. I guess that'll make this the first game that I've ever actually properly finished on this channel. Because I didn't beat Dynamite Heady. I beat all the regular levels in GoldenEye, but I didn't beat the Aztec or like the bonus levels, because those are hard. I can whiz through them in terms of, like, you know, fighting enemies and stuff like that, but it's fairly difficult to another one. Jeez Louise. There we go. A lot of lightning in this level. I you know, when I'm playing in my free time, as opposed to playing, because you guys deserve the best, I use the rewind feature, which I think is mostly for like speed runs, tool assisted speed runs, because it allows you to literally rewind the game and redo something that you messed up. And I think that using that too much has broken my brain and it's made me not as good at video games. I'm a Reploid. I can't be destroyed by you. This is where you can see, like, there's actually something serious to the story. Because they're talking about, like, you know, Sigma is in some ways a well-intentioned extremist. He believes that wiping humans off the face of the planet will allow for the planet to be healthier and all this other kind of stuff. But I still blew up his castle. Not a lot of revolutionaries have castles. It seems like that's a little bit better there. But I guess that's also the way that fascists look at themselves. Is we're going to wipe out the people who don't deserve to be alive. And that way, the people who do deserve to be alive can actually can have all they want in the world. And then it turns out that the people that they think are supposed to be alive are, straight, cisgendered white guys with a lot of money. But that's neither here nor there. Well, I mean, it is here in America, but, Was there another way? I don't know. That's not usually something you think of after a killing spree. Like, I guess I could have maybe just talked to those people instead of shooting them all. How long will his pain last? Maybe only the X-Buster on his hand knows for sure. That does raise the question to me of if the X-Buster is his hand or if he has a hand inside of the X-Buster. We see Rockman without his helmet, and at that point he's Rock and not Mega Man. Well, folks, that's Mega Man X. Well, here are all of our enemy names. Ball de Vue. The Amen Hopper. They call him the Amen Hopper because when he jumps, he plays the Amen break. Thunder Slimer. Teth Rogamer. Rolling Gabayo. Hey, yo. Batambon. Henry Jaminger. The only war criminal to won the Nobel Prize in Peace. RT-55, that's really similar to, what was it, RY-66, which I think was Robo's designation in Chrono Trigger. Like his quote-unquote real name. Remembering the ghosts of the friends that we made along the way. We all fought and got flour on our noses and learned a little bit about tolerance. Classic Mega Man game, classic Mega Man era, classic Mega Man credit sequence. Just Mega Man running and running and running and running. It's been the ending for most of them since like 2. I'm gonna charge up my gun and just fire it at random. Just like it's fun to just fire an assault rifle up into the air while you're in your backyard on July 4th. And you, as Mega Man X. That means me. You guys were not Mega Man X in this case. I don't understand why that screen is there if it's not centered for where the text stops. Seems like that would make a lot more sense. This was still in the era when Japanese video game companies would not allow their employees to be credited in-game because they were afraid that other game studios would snipe their take off members of their team and hire them away. which I guess is somewhat fair. I guess it did keep standards pretty high for Capcom and Konami, but still, people should be credited for their hard work, especially when the games are as good as these are. Anyway, yeah, that's it. That's Mega Man X in total. Almost exactly 2 hours to get to this screen. So that's fun. We are going to have some more of these play-alongs coming up. Not sure exactly which ones we're going to do, or any like real schedule at this point. Eventually going to be aiming, I think, for Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I'm also going to start streaming these because that probably makes a lot more sense. But what's this? You have won a temporary victory, X. What you destroyed was only a temporary body. My spirit, the robot's soul remains intact. In time, I will find other bodies strong enough to do my bidding. I will return. I shall see you soon, X. Very soon. The body that's strong enough that he finds to do his bidding is a character that we have met before. Spoiler alert, it's Zero. Yeah, anyway, we'll have some more of those videos coming up here soon. You know, just some nice Christmas background noise, hanging out and playing along with us. We're going to eventually be doing actual streams, so I will actually be interacting with humans and not just tripping over my own words as I try to remember what I'm talking about and play Mega Man X at the same time. And as we get the museum itself up in running shape and ready to go, and after we get out of the holidays, Aaron will be back doing some videos here on some new hardware, some new software. We've actually got some pretty exciting stuff coming up, including an extremely rare TI-99 game. So that'll be fun to see, and I think we're going to be releasing that online as well, so people will be able to play it. But yeah, other than that, have a wonderful holiday. If you don't hear from me again before the holidays coming up, I think today is the first day of Hanukkah, so happy Hanukkah to all of our celebrating members, and Christmas coming up, everything else. Yeah, have a happy holidays, and catch us on the next recording. Bye.